Hey guys, Adrienne Green here, and today is the latest video in my Moving Monday series. And today I'm going to compare living in the Chattanooga area versus the DC area. And remember, every Monday I do a new video about what it's like to move to the Chattanooga area. So if you're looking to move to the Chattanooga area, click around my YouTube channel to find other Moving Monday videos. And of course, like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can see the next installment. So today I lived in the DC area for nearly a decade. I lived in Northern Virginia in both Fairfax and Loudoun counties. That's where I started real estate investing and working as a realtor. And then in 2020, I moved to the Chattanooga area. So I wanted to share my experience living in both areas because I know I've already run into a few other people who are looking to move from the DC area to Chattanooga. And I'd love to share my insights and help you with that process. So I'm going to look at the key areas of house style, cost of living, traffic, sports, and culture. So we're going to look at those 5 areas and compare these 2 regions. So first, house style. DC area, colonial homes, right? So many colonials. Brick front, Georgian, mid-Atlantic Dutch, with either brick or siding. A lot had window shutters, right? Those colonial homes were the majority of the market in the DC area. And in fact, in the Northern Virginia market that I worked as a realtor, if a house was mid-century modern or something like that, that kind of broke that colonial mold, it would honestly usually sell at a discount versus a house with the same statistics, bed, bath, square footage, year built, etc., that was a colonial, just because the colonials are such a dominant force in that market, and it's really what people expected. Chattanooga, much more diverse architectural styles. We have colonial homes here in Chattanooga, but they're not this dominant majority. There's a lot of different architectural styles, mid-century modern, ranches, so many ranches. And so we really just have a diverse set of house styles here, which I like personally. I'd also say DC area, a lot of HOAs. Chattanooga area, relatively much more rare, okay? We definitely have some newer developments that have HOAs, but it's not nearly as prevalent as it is in the DC area. Then getting into cost of living. Now my source for this cost of living numbers are bestplaces.net, and Chattanooga's overall cost of living is an 83.8. To compare that to a few areas in the DC area, Washington, D.C. itself, cost of living is 152.1. Ashburn, Virginia's is 151. And Rockville, Maryland's is 143.6. So whether you're looking in D.C., Virginia, or Maryland, all those D.C. areas are up in the 140s to 150 range, and then Chattanooga is an 83.8. So pretty significant difference there. Chattanooga's median house price in 2020 was $325,000. Depending on the DC area, the median purchase price in 2020 was about $550,000 to $600,000. Okay, to give you that idea. And then traffic. I think it helps to look at the population to consider the traffic difference because it's so significant. So the Chattanooga population is 180,000 roughly. Washington, D.C. alone, its population is 700,000. And the D.C. metro area's population is 6 million. So I like to say in Chattanooga, you can get anywhere in 25 minutes or less. In D.C., when I lived in Northern Virginia, to get into DC was an hour with standard non-rush hour, non-accident traffic, right? That hour could easily balloon to an hour and a half or 2 hours with some traffic issues. Another example I want to give you kind of the traffic and just crowds and differences. So Chattanooga has a minor league baseball team. That attendance is around 4,000 people. When I went to the last game, it was 4,000 and change. Versus the Nats, right? The Washington Nationals, that baseball stadium capacity is 41,000 people, so 10 times larger. So when I go to a local minor league game here, I am able to park really close where I am walking to that stadium in less than 5 minutes, probably door to door. And that's with my young children who walk slowly. When I would go to Nats games in DC, we had to park about 25 minutes away and truck and carry the kids because they couldn't walk that far. So that kind of gives you a difference in just traffic and crowds. And then sports. Moving on from that, sports. Again, Chattanooga, we're looking at the SEC for college sports. UT, Alabama, and Georgia are some of the big things, big names we see here. A lot of people move up from the Atlanta area, so we have a lot of UGA alums in the Chattanooga area. And then for baseball, most people are Braves fans. I think I've seen one Nats hat the entire time I have been here in Chattanooga. And I haven't really met any Redskins fans since I've been here, or people who are fans of the Orioles or other teams from that DC area. People here really, overall, generally favor these southern teams. Now, speaking about the culture, one thing that struck me when I moved here is there's a greater focus on relationships rather than just the bottom dollar. And there's a real importance placed on creating win-win situations rather than win-lose. So, people are competitive and they want to win, but they realize that that doesn't mean someone else necessarily has to lose. We can create situations that are a win for everyone involved. And when we see that in deals, is they might not go with the highest offer. If there's a relationship that they have with someone who's offering less and they think that the amount of money that person B is going to offer is still a win for the seller, and they know that going with person B would be a win for person B, they may go with that over person A's offer that is higher. There's also more value typically on what are the odds we're going to get to the closing table, right? We may be more likely to go with a sure offer that's not quite as much than to gamble with a riskier offer that's more. Now, I do see it go both ways, but I would say in Northern Virginia, it was like 9 times out of 10 people would gamble with a riskier offer that could give them more. And here, there's not that special, that doesn't dominate nearly as much. Also, we see a lot more off-market situations with real estate here than I saw in the DC area. And I would say that negotiating is also different. Here, they don't start at an extreme expecting to meet in the middle. So how I often say is I counsel my buyer clients, if we're negotiating, don't ask for 200% of what you want, expecting that you're going to compromise at 100%. Because what happens is you can end up irritating the other side who think that you are asking for too much. And instead of coming to meet you in the middle at 100, they're just going to go up to 20. They're going to be like, that person's unrealistic. That person's asking too much. And they're not going to want to even negotiate for you. But if instead you just straight up ask for that 100% of what you want and it's a reasonable amount, they're likely to agree and not even counter. I've seen that happen a lot here. Now, of course, everyone is different and these are painting in broad strokes. But as a culture, it isn't as much of I'm going to ask for more than I want, expecting to meet in the middle. We don't see that nearly as much. The other thing I'd want to note about culture is that it is a much more overtly Christian culture here than I saw in the DC area. So as a specific example, last week I shared with an agent that I was at urgent care for my son, and it was going to take me a little bit of time to look at the documents she had sent me. And her response was that she would pray for my son. And that never happened in the DC area. I never had someone I was working with say that. I never had anyone outside of my church say that, I think, or it was relatively rare. And here it's pretty common that even in, a professional setting, with colleagues, people will say things like that. Similarly, people will also say things like God bless and other more overtly Christian phrasing and wording and statements in everyday conversations. And that was a surprise to me coming from the DC area, so I thought I'd want to share it with you. So I hope that kind of helps give you an idea of what it's like here in Chattanooga if you're thinking about moving here from the DC area. Gives you an idea of the houses that you're going to look at, difference in cost of living, what it's going to be like to driving around this area and the difference in size in the area, what sports teams are going to be popular, and then also, just the culture overall, both in terms of negotiating and buying a house and just in terms of the culture, in terms of the religious influences here. If you are somebody who lives in that DC area, Maryland, Northern Virginia, and are interested in moving or investing in the Chattanooga market, please reach out. All my contact information is below. Adrienne Green, realtor here, and I'm always happy to help.